Thank you for staying with us. Recent revelations about the diversion of items and funds meant for internally displaced persons in various parts of the country have inspired much discussion. Saddened by the diversion of funds and food materials meant for internally displaced persons, IDPs in the Northeast Zone, the Senate during the week accused the Presidential Committee on the Northeast under the supervision of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Dr. Babashir David Lawal, of spending $1.3 billion out of the $10 billion budget for the region on bogus contracts. It demanded that urgent steps should be taken to save the IDPs from further hardship. Joining us this morning to look at the plight of IDPs and the fund report is the SA Media to the Governor of Borno State, Mr. Issa Gusau. Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us.
It's good to be here.
Again. And joining us from our Abuja studio is the Country Director, Social Welfare Initiative, Emmanuel Osemeke. Good morning, Emmanuel. Good to have you with us again.
Good morning, Alera. Nice
Thanks for joining us. Now, let me start with you, Mr. Gusau. With this huge diversion of funds that we're hearing about, how are the IDPs faring?
Well, it's been tough. For us in Borno State, we've been dealing with this issue in the last 4 years. We are glad now that everyone is getting involved. This is something the governor of Borno State had to contend with between 2012 to 2015 alone. Throughout that period, Borno State government was handling it alone, but we are happy now that people are getting involved and a lot of conversations are coming in. I must say it's unfortunate that these issues are coming up, but I also would want to say that there are some exaggerations and misconceptions about what happens. I want to particularly make reference to one incident in March. I remember that in March there was a photograph that was in circulation. It was a photograph of some rice purportedly from the National Emergency Management Agency donated to the Borno State government, with somebody transferring that rice into a different bag. In other words, rice donated by NEMA was being rebagged. That was the impression that was created.
I mean, and what does that mean?
Yeah.
Was the name of the state written on the rice bag?
It wasn't, but...
So what's the import of it being?
The import of it was that it was at the point where you had the Borno State Emergency Management Agency written at the back of that place. It is a point belonging to the state government. So the whole thing was to create that impression that the Borno State Emergency Management Agency was diverting food donated by NEMA. That was the impression. Okay. Now, the governor directed the police and the Department of Security Service, the DSS, to investigate separately. And then we came to realize that it was ACM's chief. Because at that time...
Mischief on whose part?
Well, we don't know where it's coming from. Some arrests were made. About two young men were arrested. I want to believe that the investigation is still going on. But I think what actually happened between 18th of February to May, the National Emergency Management Agency had problems of food supplies. They were not supplying food to the IDPs between that period. So as at that time, they were not even supplying the rice. So you begin to wonder what rice was bought by NEMA
that was being
rebagged. So there are lots of these mischief, but the fact of the matter is that there are challenges in dealing with the IDPs. There's no question about that. And then this is something you expect when you are dealing with half the population of a state, with so many people involved in the distribution. You are bound to have these challenges. Whereas as government, what we do, we keep taking measures to either eliminate or discourage it to the barest minimum.
Okay, but the insurgency seems to have abated. So how is the settlement of the IDPs going on?
Right now, you might recall that last 2 weeks ago, Governor Kashim Shettima relocated to Bama. It was symbolic. In the post-insurgency recovery and peace building assessment report, which was jointly produced by the Office of the Vice President, the World Bank, the European Union, Borno State government, and other stakeholders, Bama is the most adversely affected by the Boko Haram insurgency. So the governor thought that, look, let us take the most complex, problem, so that by the time we are able to overcome it, others become easy. So the governor went there. From there, he moved to Goza, Pulka, and a couple of Chibok, and a couple of other areas. Right now, the Borno State government is carrying out major reconstruction works in 10 local government areas across the state. And what we are doing is that we are targeting essential services like hospitals, schools, markets, police stations, so that we restore civil authority there. That is being achieved. Out of the 10 local government areas, I think 4 have been concluded. Others are still ongoing.
So work is going on, and gradually people are moving back to there. Yeah, Emmanuel. What are your thoughts about this report that is now circulating? The huge amounts which we hear, where the contracts given out without due process, money paid into bank accounts on public holidays, and stuff like that. I mean, some of them are fiction, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, thank you so much, Alera. I think the issues are straight. We've said it severally, in this platform, that one, the IDPs have become a tool for mercantiling in the hands of both government officials at the federal, at the state, and even at the local government level. Equally, we also have, humanitarian players who are also in the same bandwagon. So for us, the government, to an extent, responded either reactively by setting up committees, starting with the T.Y. Danjuma Committee, that is the Victim Support Fund. Then, of course, you had the PINE, the Presidential Initiative for the Northeast Intervention. Then you also had the Gordon Brown Initiative, which was the Safe School Initiative. Then finally, you also had the Presidential Committee for the Northeast Interventions, that's the PCNI. And for a lot of us, we've cried out severally, we've advocated, we've shouted that, look, it is not just setting up committees that's the issue. It's about having a holistic and a concerted coordination mechanism that will ensure that every fund generated or voted or released directly reaches the IDPs or has direct impact on the IDPs. Having said that, you will agree with me that billions of naira have been supposedly, championed or, tailored towards the IDPs. But when you go on ground, what you see is totally at variance with that monumental releases and, of course, expenditures. Mm-hmm. Now, back to your question from the report from the Senate. This was debated on the floor of the Senate, where the 10 billion naira that was released to the Presidential Committee for the Northeast, supervised by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Reports read that 1.3 billion have been expended, and that expenditure is questionable. Sincerely, the expenditures, from what we've seen, is really, really questionable, and I believe that